Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another English lesson here at Study English with Frank. In today's lesson, we're going to learn all about verbs. We will learn what they are, why they are important, and how to use them correctly when we speak and when we write. Let's go. Before we start our lesson today, I have a short segment that we call YouTube Tips. It's time for YouTube Tips, everybody. Students sometimes ask, if I subscribe to your channel, will I have to start paying a fee to watch the videos? The answer is no. The videos at YouTube are always free, whether you have subscribed or not. The videos are paid for by the advertising that you see at the beginning and sometimes in the middle of a video. YouTube gets a portion of that advertising revenue to pay for all of the expensive servers that they have built up all over the world. And then YouTube teachers like TK and I also get a portion of the money that is generated from the advertising. That is how it is possible to keep these classes free. So don't worry. Go ahead and subscribe. Now, YouTube will want you to sign up for an account with YouTube if you don't have one already. But it's good to have a YouTube account because that will allow you to leave comments, not only here at our channel, but also at all of the other YouTube channels that you may watch. One last thing you should know is that YouTube will ask you if you do want to sign up for a paid subscription. That does cost money, about $10 a month. Just understand that this is optional. You don't have to sign up for that. You can still watch all of the videos at YouTube for free. The only benefit of the paid subscription at YouTube is that you will be able to watch all of the videos without any of the advertising. But as long as you are willing to watch the ads, then YouTube channels are always free. Okay, back to our lesson on verbs. The first thing to know about verbs is that almost every sentence needs them. If your sentence doesn't have a verb, then it's not really a complete or proper sentence. In our last lesson, we learned how you can actually have one-word sentences, like stop or go. But those one-word sentences are verbs, right? They're action words. The second thing that everyone should know about verbs is that they are often the action words in a sentence. Jill played a song on the piano. Is Jill a verb? No. Jill is a person. She is the subject of the sentence. Is song a verb? No. It is a thing. It is a noun. Is piano a verb? No. The piano is not doing the action. It is being acted upon. It is a thing, and so it is a noun. And in this sentence, it is also the object. It is receiving the action. And so the only word left in the sentence that could possibly be the verb is played. So if you are looking for verbs in a sentence, the first place to start is to look for the action words, words that describe action or activities. Now, an important thing to know is that the action doesn't need to be external or physical or observable. Those are big words, I know. It simply means that some actions are very noticeable, We can see them. We can look around and we see people walking, jumping, dancing, skipping, talking, singing, playing. These are all very observable. We see the action happening. But verbs can also be things that people do inside their minds, and it's not always noticeable. When we think, when we feel emotions, when we love with our hearts and minds, even when we look and observe, these all describe actions that we do in our minds, and they are verbs. Let's notice this sentence, for example. Jill loves music. What is the verb in this sentence? That's right. It is loves. Love is a feeling that Jill has. It is a verb. We might not see it in action, but it is a feeling action that Jill has about music. I want a coffee. Want is a desire that I am feeling, and so it is a verb. One more thing that verbs do is describe a state of being. You may have heard the famous line from Shakespeare's play Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is the question. To be, to exist, to say, I am, are all using this special form of verb, a state of being. Verb describes what a noun is, was, or will be. Jill was very weak. Jill is working hard. Jill will be very strong. Was, is, and will be are state of being verbs. The other thing that I would like you to understand about verbs for this lesson is that they come in 3 flavors. Have you been to the ice cream store? You may have 3 different flavors that you like. Well, when it comes to verbs, there are also flavors. In English, we call these 3 tenses. Tenses. I think that you probably have these in your language as well. When we talk, we want people to know if we were talking about something that has happened in the past, something that is happening right now in the present, or something that will happen later in the future. These are tenses: past tense, present tense, and future tense. And depending on what tense we are using, the words in English might change a little bit. For example, we wouldn't want to simply say, Jill weak. That doesn't give us enough information to know when Jill was like this. Was Jill weak last year? Is she weak right now? Do we expect Jill to be weak in the future? Has she always been weak? Will she always be weak? Is Jill okay right now? And so we need to say more than Jill weak. When we are describing Jill's state of being, we need to remember to state it in the proper tense. So we might say, Jill was weak. That would be past tense. Or we might say, Jill is getting stronger. Present tense. Or we might say, Jill will be very strong. Future tense. Now, here's the tricky part. In English, many times the form of the word itself will let people know what tense the verb should be understood as. That allows English to use fewer words. But the trick is we need to know how the word will change for any given word. For example, let's talk about the word tell. Tell is a verb. Jill likes to tell funny stories to her friends. What is the verb in this sentence? That's right. It is tell. But did you know that there are 3 different forms of this word that will help the listener know when Jill tells the story? If Jill has finished her story, the tell would be in the past. And in English, we change the form of the word a little. We say, instead of Jill tell her story, we say Jill told her story. We might add also when Jill told her story. We might say Jill told her story yesterday. Or Jill told her story last week. But we wouldn't have to. By just changing the word from tell to told, everyone will know that Jill has finished telling her story. It's in the past. Told. If we were listening to Jill tell her story, that would be the present tense. It's happening right now. We would say, Jill is telling a funny story. Jill is telling a funny story. If we wanted to make a statement about what Jill might do in the future, well, we might say, I am sure that Jill will tell many more funny stories when we see her again next week. Will tell. Future tense. This might be the most difficult part about learning to speak English correctly. You need to learn what is the proper form of the word to use together with the right tense. For example, it wouldn't be correct to say, Jill told funny stories. Come and listen. We wouldn't want to say, yesterday, Jill telling us many funny stories. We wouldn't want to say, yesterday, Jill telling us many funny stories, or Jill tell us many funny stories. We wouldn't want to say, I can't wait until next week to hear Jill told more of her funny stories. It's okay to make these kinds of mistakes when you're just learning English. Everybody has a difficult time learning the right form of a word for the right tense. Your friends will understand. They might correct you, but that is only because they are trying to help you learn the correct word for the right tense. They might even smile or laugh when you say it wrong. But you should know that most of the time, if they're good friends at all, they're not laughing at you. They are simply laughing or smiling because it is sometimes amusing to hear the wrong tense used. They totally understand how difficult it can be to try and learn a new language. They are probably very proud of you for the good progress that you're making. So, what have we learned today? Well, we've learned that verbs are action words, words that describe the actions of the subject of the sentence. Jill is our subject, and Jill runs. She jumps. She dances. She sings. She plays the piano. But we also know that Jill has feelings and emotions. All of those ways that we describe the feelings of Jill, or the way she thinks, the way she senses things, the way that she looks, smells, tastes, and hears, well, all of these are verbs that tell our listener or reader about what Jill does or thinks or feels. We also learned that the very fact that Jill exists, she's a person, she lives, that she was, that she is, that she will be, are also ways that we can use verbs to talk about Jill and describe interesting things that Jill does. We also learned that these verbs can take on different forms that can give us clues as to when Jill did or felt these things, whether it was in the past, the present, or the future. In future lessons, we'll talk a lot more about tenses in the past, the present, the future. So stay tuned for that. Fun things to know about verbs. If it is not all completely clear in your mind, don't worry. You can always watch the video lesson again until you get it. That is the great thing about online classes. You know, TK and I often get emails from our students, and they tell us that, you know, I've been studying at the government classes in the evenings for over a year, and I just don't seem to remember anything. But once I switched to learning with you online, I found that it's so much better. If I don't quite follow something, I can always watch it again. I hope that you've enjoyed the lesson today. If so, give it a like, share with a friend, and if you haven't yet done so, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. Remember, it is free, and if you subscribe, especially if you click that little bell there by the subscribe button, YouTube will let you know when we release our next lesson in grammar, where we will be taking a closer look at how verbs change their form when we use them in the 3 different tenses, and how the words might sometimes change when we use them together with the different pronouns that we learned about in our last lesson on grammar. Fun times. I know that you won't want to miss it. So we'll see you next time here at Study English with Frank. So long for now.